We seek your support and cooperation throughout. You all have been fantastic in terms of that year after year, like I mentioned, and we truly value that and acknowledge that. I request everybody to please kindly come forward. All our esteemed guests over there, request you to please first occupy the chairs over here at the front, and then maybe we can leave the chairs over there at the back. Thank you. I'll need your help for the chairs later. Kuch der mein. Thank you. Can we have a big round of applause for our hotel staff as well? I think they've been working relentlessly hard since morning, putting up the chairs, this, that, etc. Shukriya, thank you. All right, so I believe we are ready. So thank you so much. We have had an incredible day so far with the conclave and the awards. Congratulations once again to all the winners who are taking away some spectacular trophies home. And I'm sure it's only going to double up in the years that's set to come by with all your hard work, dedication, and most importantly, consistency in your approach. So that's truly phenomenal indeed. It's now time for something truly special that we are going to be doing over here for the very first time. It's the launch of a special new community. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all and a very good evening to the BW Privacy World Curtain Raiser. A big round of applause for this momentary occasion, please. My name is Shubhajit Ghosh. I'm an anchor, MC, and YouTube talk show host, and it's my humble honor and privilege to host all of you over here for this very special occasion. As I mentioned earlier, we are gathered over here to witness the launch of the BW Privacy World, which is a special initiative that will undoubtedly set new benchmarks in how we perceive and practice data privacy in the digital age. In a world where data is the new oil, privacy is the new security. It's the cornerstone of trust and, most importantly, the foundation upon which all sustainable digital growth must be built together as a force to reckon with. Tonight is about unveiling a roadmap, a commitment, and most importantly, a vision towards a future, a brighter one where innovation and individual rights coexist, a future where data protection is no longer a worry. And most importantly, it's not a compliance hurdle, but a competitive advantage in the long run. This curtain raiser, ladies and gentlemen, is just the very beginning of a powerful, impactful, ongoing conversation that BW Privacy World will champion in the years coming forward. The unveiling will be followed with some insightful sessions by the leaders of the industry, discussing and sharing their perspective on today's theme, which is Step Inside the Data Privacy Leaders' Inner Circle. I'll quickly repeat the theme for everybody. The theme today is Step Inside the Data Privacy Leaders' Inner Circle. We will now be unveiling and raising the curtain for launching the newest community of BW, ladies and gentlemen. And for that, I have said a lot already, but I believe an audio visual helps the process a little better. So can we please have the AV over here for esteemed guests over here? Can we please have the launch AV for our guests over here, please? Can we have a big round of applause for this historic moment, ladies and gentlemen? It's set to be truly spectacular moving forward. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, today's digital broadcast is currently being live streamed across all BW Business World platforms, including our social media channels and also on the www.businessworld.com. As we all know, BW Business World, led by Dr. Anurag Batra, who's the chairman and editor-in-chief of BW Business World and the founder of Exchange for Media Group, is the fastest growing business media house in the country. With a network spanning across 24 niche communities, we'll add one more over here, in this evening, and 8 magazines. BW Business World, ladies and gentlemen, is proud to be entrenched in various verticals in the domestic as well as global business ecosystem. And with changing times, BW now has a massive, massive readership in the digital space as well. They are known for organizing conferences and forums to facilitate interaction between sectoral business leaders that are always very conducive for collaboration and growth. To keep yourself abreast of development, please kindly subscribe to the Business World group of magazines, and I'm sure it will add to your professional quest for knowledge and insights, something that we all seek in the long run as individuals. Watch out for BW Business World's latest issue, which is the BW Disrupt 40 Under 40 special, spotlighting India's next generation entrepreneurs who are scripting growth with ingenuity, grit, and most importantly, a purpose towards life and making a difference. For more information, please reach out at the registration counter. As we flag off today's event, I request everybody to kindly join in the conversations and share their learnings. We have a hashtag change right now because this is the privacy world. The hashtag that we have for this particular event is hashtag BW Privacy World. So anybody who's sharing engaging posts and moments from the curtain raiser will request you to kindly use the hashtag BW Privacy World on social media. Before I move forward, I would like to thank our partners for the day, as without the support, we couldn't have pulled this event off. Ladies and gentlemen, event partner, the Thick Shake Factory, Joy Travels Private Limited, Reality Plus, Exchange for Media, IWM Buzz, Impact, Pitch, Fandrum, Beanley Coffee. Can I please have a huge round of applause for all our partners? Thank you so much. And without further ado, it's now time to once again welcome on stage for the opening address, the one and only Dr. Anurag Batra for the historic moment. Ladies and gentlemen, curtain raiser, BW Privacy World.
Thank you. Give the one and only one, Shubho, a big round of applause. Give Shubho a big round of applause. He's been at it. And if you applaud louder, we may not have to pay him. So we may compensate. So I'm kidding. He's already collected his money in advance. He's also hosting our event tomorrow. First of all, gratitude for being here on our evening. Time is the most important asset we have. Attention is the second most asset that we have. So thank you for giving us both of your most precious asset. As I said, I'm not an expert on DPDP. I have an appreciation of almost everything. I read a lot, but I'm not an expert on DPDP. I'm not an expert on data, right? I can only say that we understand how the law that came in 2023 will create opportunities for each one of you in the room to be able to help organizations, platforms, government, various stakeholders, individuals to brace themselves for a game-changing impact of the DPDP Act 2023. As I said, you are experts, you are doers, but just to contextualize that, the Act now introduces, as you know, a legal imperative and also an operational opportunity for SOC managers, for CISOs, for DPOs and IT security teams to revisit how data is collected, shared, stored, and protected. Just to, sometimes the penalty are very stringent, but in this case, they are, in my view, super stringent. The penalties for non-compliance are hefty, up to rupees 250 crores, which is almost $30 million for each contravention, making this act, it's a new act, it only came in 2 years back, making this new DPDP 2023 Act among the most stringent data protection regimes globally. But beyond fines, this is a defining moment to reframe data privacy as a foundation for trust in digital economy. There was a leader from HSBC earlier in the evening who was a jury chair of our CDO awards, and he said trust is the currency that builds businesses. The key requirements of the DPDP Act, you're very familiar, is consent-based processing, it is notice requirements, it is data principal rights, is data breach notification, cross-border data transfers, data protection officers being mandated, the significant data fiduciaries or those charged with handling large volumes of sensitive data must appoint a DPO based in India who reports to senior management, and privacy by design. I keep saying in a lighter vein that there are three valleys in the world. There is the Silicon Valley, where we know innovation exists. There is the Valley of Love, which is India, because we've given our COVID, we've given our vaccines. We are the Valley of Love. And I keep saying there is a valley across the border on this side, eastern side, which is the Valley of Surveillance. Do I need to tell you which country? And I'm sure your people who know. So clearly, data is playing a role in global realignment of power, in global practices, in global trade. Data has security and strategy imperatives. So the implication for organizational and operational and strategic shifts are huge. There is increased accountability, the risk of overlap and role confusion. How do you do vendor management? It's become even more complex. It was always complex. Technology and infrastructure investments are needed to be able to build compliant regime, so to say. And again, we've discussed a lot of theories, but how do you go from theory to implementation? And there are organizations and individuals whose work I know who are truly moving from theory to implementation. And clearly, how do you start with the gap analysis? How do you form a cross-functional team? How do you assign a dedicated DPO to individual projects or organizations? How do you build consent and preference management infrastructure? And most importantly, a culture beyond the legal imperative of doing that. Uh, and all organizations as a strategy, how do we implement privacy by design in the way we work? Also, we have to prepare ourselves, like in anything we do, for um, incidents response. We have to be like any new area, we have to stay informed and adaptive. And hence, we are launching at BW Business World a new community. And I can tell you that I started Exchange for Media 25 years back. I didn't know what the word community meant. I wanted to build a marketplace. I was young, I was 28 and a half years old. Um, to build a community, uh, you need content, and we started with content, but we wanted to build a marketplace for the advertising, marketing, media industry. That's how I started. And that became the number one community because of its content. And then I realized the responsibility of building a community with the number one community. And we've gone on to in Business World, which is a B2C product. Before I acquired it 11 years back, I read it for more than 20 plus years. When I acquired Business World, it was in the 35th year. It is now started in September, its 46th year. We just brought out a 300-page 45th anniversary issue with almost 180 pages of ads. Ads are always welcome, and so is content. Without content, there's no ad. In business world, 10 years back, we launched the hospitality community with all humility. It's the number one hospitality community. 7 existed when we launched. In value terms, just in our magazine, which is once in 2 months, our digital product is daily, and our conference is once a year. It's $1 million conference. And everybody, 1 to 100 of hospitality. And we've built another 6 communities that are leaders. We are 27. I can't say all 27 are yet leaders, but they're in the top 3. So even in the data privacy domain, eventually we would want to build something which is of value to you, which is truly a community. It talks 2 ways. There's some value it brings. I think we know how to build communities. Though the rules for each domain and subdomain are very nuanced, so to say. But with your support, we will be able to build something differentiated so that it supplements what exists and not duplicates what it. So we've tried to do our need gap analysis of what are the gaps in content, what are the gaps in events, what are the gaps in data and insights, what are the gaps in collaboration, which is networking. I don't like the word networking. I don't believe in networking. It's superficial, but collaboration in a deep way. So I think with launching and the reason we did it at short notice because Ved, who's a senior colleague of mine, is executive director in the company. And he and Kriti were chatting 4 months back. Kriti proposed the community that we do this, and she got our attention to it. And Ved said, we are doing a CDO conference. Why don't we seed it? So there was no logical reason. The only is possibly the airfares are very high. So they wanted to save a lot of money for me not traveling. Some of you not loaned me a plane, but on a serious note, we thought that there is a CDO community. So it may be a good reason and a good event. So hopefully with the launch of BW Privacy World, which will be a daily digital community, and we still believe in the power of print. There's a certain credibility. And anybody who says print is dead, or magazines are dead, or newspapers are dead, must look at the balance sheets of those. Just to give you numbers, Dainik Bhaskar did 360 crores of profit last year, and I can go on. I can go on about HT so we are not in the business of print. We are not in the business of events. We're not in the business of magazines. We're not in the business of events. We're in the business of building B2C and B2B communities. So clearly, we believe that with BW Privacy World, hopefully we can be a catalyst in creating a new era for data responsibility. And it will happen because of your time, patronage, and we listen to you. We'll build so to say, an advisory council. Uh, we will soon announce an editor. He joins in December, so we'll announce it in November, end November. He's somebody who's a practitioner in the space. In all our communities, we brought in people who knew that domain, so it was nuanced. They had relationships, they have relationships, and they're passionate about the domain. So it's not just bringing a journalist to be able to do that, but somebody who's in some way you'd respect his understanding, and he'd more importantly respect your understanding. So I am grateful to you for your time, patronage, attention. As I said, your time and your attention are the biggest gifts you can give us. My gratitude to Kriti and Ved and the Business World team. Sharon put together the morning CDO conference. So gratitude to Sharon for putting this together. We also have Devika is here, and Devika Somejit and Priyanshi have curated tomorrow's event. Data is very important, but the more important thing than data is fitness, living long, longevity. So we partnered with ITC. It's brand called Right Shift, which is a millet-based brand, to bring out India's top fittest above 40, fittest above 40. And we have all 100% winners coming, 45 winners through the jury process and 3 through the app challenge. I just want to show you the AV for that.
In a world where leadership meets fitness, Rise is an inspiring movement of balance, discipline, and success. The only list that matters this year. Right Shift brings to you Lead Fit Summit and the grand celebration Fittest 40 Above 40, India's Fittest Business Leaders Awards in association with BW Business World and ITC. An initiative by Right Shift, ITC's dedicated health and wellness brand, crafted to fit every meal and every moment of the day, especially for the 40 plus community. Our incredible jury who made this entire journey possible.
Life after 40, fitter, sharper, stronger.
Not just possible, it is powerful.
Success is not just about achieving targets, but also about strength, balance, and discipline.
We are going to meet leaders who balance their boardroom with breathwork
and deadlines with discipline. I'm on the jury and I really want to hear your story.
I'm on the jury and I want to hear your story.
It's not just about strength, it's about getting the right balance. And fitness is what I think will make you even smarter to do that. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Anurag Batra. 40 is when fitness gets the real power.
12 hours spread across 2 days, full of dynamic discussions, inspiring stories, and detailed evaluation of the shortlisted nominees. A quest to crown India's fittest 40 business leaders. The competition was fierce, and then came the thrilling app challenge, introduced by Right Shift, a special category that turned the heat up and made a great impact. The grand celebration unfolds at the majestic Taj for an unforgettable evening of recognition and inspiration. Thank you, partners, for powering this incredible journey.
Thank you, Right Shift, ITC, and Business World for this initiative.
Thank you, RightShift, ITC, and BW Business World for this initiative.
Big thanks to ITC, RightShift, and Business World for this initiative.
Thank you, RightShift, ITC, and BW Business World for the initiative.
Thank you, RightShift, ITC, and BW Business World for this incredible platform.
It's time to get sharper, stronger, and more balanced.
Looking forward to seeing you all at the grand stage.
Join us to know who are the top 40 winners. As we redefine success, celebrate fitness, and honor India's fittest business leaders.
Thank you. I have a long journey to be on fitness, but I'm inspired. Hopefully next year I'll apply, not be in the jury and maybe win. But I won't apply, but I'll definitely be hopefully fitter. It motivates you. I can only say that the most important thing that matters for fitness is sleep. And mostly I sleep 8+ hours. Can't say about last night, but so I wish you luck. Thank you for being part of the inaugural curtain raiser for the BW Data Privacy World. We know how to curate communities, content. We'll need your active patronage, support, time, and hopefully we'll make it worthwhile for you. So my sincerest gratitude to you. God bless you. Thank you. Back to you, Shubham.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Once again, a big round of applause. And I think the editing of that promo video regarding tomorrow's event, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And we have stellar lineup of speakers and incredible people who truly redefine fitness. They're going to be joining us tomorrow. So please, it's going to be truly spectacular. And we would love that initiative to fly moving forward. All right, back to the BW Privacy World. We are now engaging for the first panel discussion. We'll need 5 chairs on stage, please. Shukriya. What I'm going to do is, in the meantime, I'm going to be announcing the topic, and then I'm going to be announcing our speakers, and then I'll request all of them to join me on stage together. The topic for the panel discussion right now is the AI Privacy Nexus, governing data in the age of intelligent machines. I'll repeat the topic once again. This is about the AI Privacy Nexus, governing data in the age of intelligent machines. We have display of our just put 2. That's enough, I believe. Yeah. Kindly keep the mics. We are ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is about the AI Privacy Nexus, governing data in the age of intelligent machines. The first panel discussion of the BW Privacy World Curtain Raiser. Our session chair is Kriti Sharma, Regulatory, Legal, Compliance and Ethics Head, India and Southeast Asia, RCNE, Dun & Bradstreet Information Services India Private Limited. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us over here. Give her a big round of applause, please, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll request you to take your seat. Joining her on stage, we have with us Ibrahim Khatri, founder and CEO, Privacy Solutions Private Limited. Ibrahim ji ke liye zor se taali, please. Thank you so much. Joining us on stage over here, we have Anand Kumar Kasturi, Executive Vice President, Data Protection Officer, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us over here. A bigger round of applause from the audience, if I may request. Thank you. We are joined by Advocate Dr. Prashant Mali, founder, Cyber Law Consulting Advocates and Attorneys. Thank you so much, sir. We earlier had a fascinating keynote session from him, and now it's time for a panel. Loving it. And also we have with us today Sushil Oswal, Chief Data Officer from BSE India. Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure to have all of you over here. Ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural curtain raiser of the BW Privacy World, the first panel of the first curtain raiser event. Give all of them a big round of applause to set the tone right for the first panel discussion. Ma'am, I'll request you to take your seat.
Is it okay if I stand and moderate? So welcome everyone. Very good evening. This is a very special occasion, especially because I'm here to support friends and I'm talking from both the sides. Most of the people who have been invited are known to me, dear to me. And of course, business world is known to me for more than a decade. Anurag has been a supporter. And of course, he understands the cause for which we are the torch bearers. And coming to the reel we just saw, each one of you have a pass. Anurag, I'm taking the liberty to invite them for tomorrow's event. He's not promoting it commercially. He genuinely means this for all of us, and all of you are invited to be a part of tomorrow's event. So without further ado, I am Kriti Sharma, Director, Dun & Bradstreet, India and Southeast Asia, and Data Protection Officer for India and Southeast Asia, registered in Singapore as well. I have a wonderful set of panelists and almost 45 minutes. So without delaying any further, the topic of the conversation is the AI Privacy Nexus, governing data in the age of intelligent machines. We have a very diverse set of people. And my question to Ibrahim, I would like to start with you, is how do you see the whole agenda of artificial intelligence in light of the recent Digital Personal Data Protection Act and the rules which are to be notified?
Hello.
And I want use cases for all of us. The use cases, like your real experience with dealing with artificial intelligence.
Sure. So, the DPDP Act itself talks about, algorithmic assessments, right, which is pretty unique in the Indian DPDP compared to the other regulations such as GDPR and what have you. And it actually talks about anything that basically harms the data principles, right? Their rights and freedom. That's basically more than a privacy violation, right? So there has to be, and that's mostly for like significant data fiduciaries. I'll just explain what significant data fiduciaries are. Significant data fiduciaries are organizations that are actually going to be notified by the Data Protection Board. But those are organizations most likely that collect sensitive data. So sensitive data is not defined in DPDP, but large volumes of data, right? So these organizations, and I'll give you my own personal use case working with some insurance companies, right? And how they actually underwrite the insurance policies, right? And how, what risk they have, who gets rejected and who doesn't get rejected, how those models actually work. The model risk assessment, right, if I may call it, and the data lineage all come together for a AI governance ecosystem.
That makes sense. I will be talking about and asking you more regarding the risks which you have experienced. But coming to Anand, and we lovingly call you AK. So AK, my question is, when an AI system denies a loan or rejects a job application because of how it has learned from the data, who is truly responsible according to you, the deployer, the developer, or the employer?
Okay. First of all, thanks to Business World for having me here. Thanks, Kriti, for introducing me to this forum. Who takes responsibility, right?
Absolutely, yes. liability in a way.
No one takes it easily, right? Unless you define responsibility upfront and then blame them, they will take it. So it's all about, finding scapegoat after things happen. Sorry, it won't happen, right? So whenever you have an AI, it's important to understand who are the different players involved. So you have a deployer, you have a developer, and you have a victim, right? These are the three players. Victim obviously are the end customers. So if I were to define a deployer, right? Who's a deployer? Now, any entity, right, which uses a third-party AI solution and deploys it, right? You have a third party who is the owner of that AI, and the deployer is the company that is using it. So they do it first. Then the developer, right? Developers might fine-tune that model when they are training that model for in-house kind of deployment. That is where, if the responsibility of fine-tuning the model to that organization is not assigned to the developer, they go scot-free, right? And most organizations, a real-life example is this, right? AI is very fancy now. It's like designing a Ferrari car, right? But brake can't be an afterthought. Brake has to be built along with the car. And once the car starts moving, you can't put in a brake, right? Because what that means is you have to stop the car, which means there are many banks, I don't want to name the banks, but they've gone into an embargo because they didn't have proper structures in place, right? And regulators don't give you a chance कि ठीक है आप करते जाओ धंधा साइड में करो नहीं धंधा बंद करेंगे पहले, right? So that's the thing, and which is where I think having a proper responsibility matrix defined for any AI implementation, for any data governance related stuff, for ownership of the data, these are all very important. And loans is a very touchy topic, right? Because the normal personal loans of individuals is a small ticket item, but the big loans, who's even taking a decision?
So what is your pre-deployment strategy in such scenarios?
So if I were to talk about a pre-deployment strategy, the first thing is to have some kind of a guardrail, right? Some kind of high-level policy which you want to implement in your organization, right? And it has to have all the components of, say, currently we don't have an AI law in India, right? But we do have a framework called Free AI report given by RBI. Niti Aayog is doing some work around it. RBI also is kind of asking some questions in the thematic studies questionnaires that they send. And EU Act is anyway there. So we will have to have a stand as an organization, right? What is it that we want to do? Because AI, again, can be a boon, can be a bane, right? So people are jumping onto the band because they have this Gen Z thing, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. But I would say maybe people who don't jump on might have ROMO, which is relief on missing out, or JOMO, right? Joy on missing out, because they're not jumping on it blindfold, right? So strategy is to understand how are we going to assess any implementation, whether it is going to be return on investment based, whether it is going to be any other factor, but that has to be predefined before AI is implemented. And once it is implemented, you have to measure it back, and you should have strategy to roll back, because rolling back is a challenge in AI. Once it learns, AI never unlearns, right? So that's a big challenge.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, AK. Prashant, this one is for you. And we want your practical observations and insights as far as how you foresee regulators seeing AI, and then the level at which it can control the kind of challenges which we have. And also the hackers are smarter as well, right? And this is no more just about compliance. This is also about competitiveness. We are not just following standards, we are also steering ahead. Everybody who's sitting here is a stalwart, and as most of us say, and this is AK's favorite statement too, we are the torch bearers and probably the first set of data protection officers present here at this very special moment. So how do you foresee this?
Let's say Bakras. Not torch bearers, Bakras.
Yeah. Same difference.
You have chosen to be Bakra. So you can't say we are bakaras, you know.
You happen to be one of the most popular person on LinkedIn. Like you're one of the go-to profiles when we have to check the updates on this subject.
Thank
Do
you.
you know that?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So let me update on what is next. See, Government of India is very proactive, and when it comes to AI and why it is proactive, and in my earlier session also I had commented that it has brought in AI rules the moment there was problems with deepfakes, and there are problems with synthetic data. So now we have, apart from this Niti Aayog, etc., roadmap, those are not actually, they are not regulations. You know, we may follow it at our whim. You know, if we want, we want. But IT rules, that is the IT Digital Media Ethics Code and Intermediary Rules, this is the exact name what I'm saying, 2025 is now somewhat legality we bought into the AI. So we have there, what we are trying to define is what is synthetic data and what happens if, you know, how do we label it? So for corporates, you need to label those, if you are producing synthetic data. You need to add labels, metadata to it. So now you all have to think from that angle. You know, when you're adding metadata, skiff, and things to it, what is the cost? Second is, if you're not doing it right, then what is the cost? Because that is the legal risk. So when you, this has to be inbuilt in the new happenings, what we are trying to do. Second is obviously training the new people. You know, now the best training, now what we do is, everybody, if you look at your LinkedIn post, simple as LinkedIn post, 90% is synthetic data. Okay. And if you look at presentations, synthetic data. So everything is synthetic, and the same synthetic data would be taken, and a new AI, which New India is trying to build, will be built on the same synthetic data. So that is going to be a problem. That is going to be issue, because it will subsume the culture of our country. Because it's not only our country, it's across the world. It will be AI thoughts in the cyberspace. It will be AI thoughts governing our thoughts. So, you know, we will be slaves. Our thoughts would be slaves to
We already are. I
yeah.
think
So what
the generations,
AI has
the
generated.
younger generations,
Yeah.
especially.
So slowly, how to tackle this? So it is not only regulations which we would like, but see, now the problem with regulation is, now you all want AI regulation should be there. But have we ever thought, when AI regulations come, what are we going to do? How are we prepared? What is my budget to handle AI regulations? One, DPDPA is coming. It's not still there, but it's coming from many ages. Yet we are not prepared. You know, there's fighting about budgets. There are, you know, we don't know where our data is. You know, there could be some data in some accounts department which we really don't know, we're not accounted for. And then there are so much hidden data which we are not accounted for, and the AI generated data. So two types of data DPDP is not catering to. One is your generic synthetic data, and other is your inference data. Would not synthetic data or inference data be a personal data? It could be, yes. In fact, it can malign you in the worst format when a narrative is created out of this. So, is regulation looking at it? No.
Right.
Okay, so culturally, we are not looking at it. So these are so many issues. Our brains need to start thinking and approaching a problem or a legal compliance differently in the age of AI. That's what I feel right now. Thank you for asking me that.
Thank you. Thank you, Prashant. I think there is a very important aspect which you spoke about, budgets. That's something business generally shies away from, especially because compliance, being a business function, has that kind of challenges. And I will ask more on this to you, but coming to Sushil sir, my question is, how have you seen the whole growth, given that you come from such a legacy brand, which is BSE? How was the reaction, the response of this kind of disruption in India, in the technology space or the globe, I must say?
So I think, first of all, the growth in the stock market, thanks to people, all of you guys are started trading. People who are not trading, they have entered the stock market. And be it any, rickshaw wala, auto wala, or driver, they're into a stock market, right? Everybody wants to, invest and have a quick money. But, and the growth has been tremendous, and it is growing with new products, the government initiatives making it easy to trade, all those initiatives, right? And at the same time, the safeguard of the investors is equally important, and also the risk factors that that entails. So, of course, the volume of growth, the data growth and the volume is there now. So many crores of demat accounts, large volume of data being collected, and we have that. So now that's a quick background. And then, yes, with respect to AI, GenAI, or data related things, we are very excited and we are experimenting, but we need to, being in a regulator environment, we need to ensure that the data is secure, the data is protected, there's a trust and safeguards very at all the guardrails are there with respect to SEBI security guidelines, with respect to technology related, guardrails with respect to CSR, with respect to guidelines and all that. Okay. And with that is the first pillar that comes in mind, and then deciding on how do you start our journey. So we have started our journey, we are experimenting it, and also we have to ensure that there is continuous monitoring of any use cases, ensuring that all those SOPs are in place, SBOMs are in place, continuous vulnerabilities are being monitors, deployment, continuous fixes of those vulnerabilities. Then how is the model performance? How is it drifting? Is it not performing? So all those needs to be controlled and monitored continuously so that incorrect decision is not taken. So in our case, any incorrect decision, we want to ensure that that doesn't happen, right? Because to us, our customers are very important. Our customers are like members, brokers, community, right? So in our thing, we ensure that the humans are involved, just not machine or anything, but humans are tightly integrated, and it's both human and the machine work together, and we experiment it, we learn it, and then that's how we are planning our journey. I mean, and also learning.
Do you trust AI? Do you trust the deployment of AI? Do you trust the deployment of AI?
So see, being a regulator, we need to be sure that the models are building on what data. So we don't we ensure first thing that not we don't have any sensitive or PI data, competitive data going into it. So we try to start with use case. So recently you may have seen that we have launched ICME RHPI. It is about a document, is a public document, and how we can speed up the decision making, which my internal team which will take weeks, has come down to days. So with respect to AI cannot be 100% right? But you need to have a benchmark and a marker that what accuracy level is acceptable before even starting the project, and whether that AI solution can generate the required level of output and the outcome that is needed. And then we need to continuously understand that, okay, in phase one, what is the expected accuracy? Then later on, expect what is that. So continuous evaluation, and the moment we say that if the output is not expected, we need to quickly investigate why is that happening.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for confirming your thoughts. And the next question I'll ask you is the challenges you think and the fears which you have, the nightmares which you get as a professional.
See, I think any small incident can cause a lot of damage to and risk and reputational damage or whatever that be. So safeguarding and safeguarding it, any kind of risk or I think is paramount important.
Right.
And just not for, I think, not for our industry, but any in financial services, be it banking or insurance. That is that. So I think, but yes, we know that there it will be a scenario where, but how do you ensure that those are mitigated? So with, I think, more of culture awareness, more of training and learning initiatives around that. How do you safeguard? How do you protect the data? How do you use it? Where to use it? So all those, I think, initiative needs to be, taken and, roll out and see. And it's a continuous journey.
Thank you. So I have a question for all of you, and you can take it as per your perception and experience. There have been so much noise around data breach. There has been so much noise about data leakage, especially with ChatGPT, the prompts used for assessing transactional data or financial data, if not PII. How do you deal with it, and how much do you trust vendors? So internally, how do you deal with AI deployment? And externally, how do you advise clients? So when I speak to in-house counsels and DPOs here, how do you deal with stakeholders to assure that they make sure that there's proper due diligence? However, I personally think due diligence is not enough. There has to be a separate AI checklist altogether, which is in consonance with how the global leaders and policies and standards think and perceive AI to be, because we are still at a stage where there's a lot to be implemented. Ibrahim.
I think you've asked a question that's a little forward, right? I mean, I think especially in India right now, where you look at vendor risk assessment, right? I'm going to talk very basic stuff.
Yes, sure.
Organizations have, large organizations that we are working with, and what I've seen have no kind of vendor risk management. I mean, they have no visibility on what data is actually going out, right? So if data is actually getting breached, they wouldn't know, right? They don't even know if the data is being used for the purposes that they have actually given the data for, if there are certain kind of agreements that they have with the data processors, right? And if they are deleting the data after the use is over, there's no monitoring of that, right? I mean, these are, they don't even know that if there is certain kind of basic controls like ISO 27001, what have you, right? This exercise is just kind of starting. And a lot of organizations, I think, are sitting right at the brim. They are waiting for the DPDP to get notified, right? Because unless and until it doesn't get notified, they really
They're
don't want to
waiting,
do.
yes.
They really don't want to invest. Like
It's like a
said
ticking
that
time
They really don't
bomb.
want to invest the budget, right? They want to go. Practically, what I'm really seeing is like large banks and large organizations, right? I mean, they're still managing everything on Excel, right? And it's impossible, right, to basically manage a whole governance program to actually know where breaches happened. It's practically impossible, right? So from a vendor perspective, you really need to do as you said, vendor due diligence is not enough, but that's like a starting point, right? For if a breach happens. So then you can actually then comply with the regulations, such as notifying the regulator and the consumers, the stipulated time, 6 hours for certain and 72 hours for DPDP. Actually, as soon as you basically get, you realize there's been a breach that you need to notify, but you really need to have control over your data. But organizations, forget about sending data to vendors. They actually don't know what data they actually really have, right? So the data discovery exercise also, even if you don't use like a sophisticated tool, they just don't know what data. I mean, the data mapping exercise really hasn't really started yet, right? So all the basics are really important to basically, act upon a data breach when it actually happens.
Yeah, in fact, so AK, just taking 30 seconds here to give you an example, the vendors who we engaged to initially, they would not even bother to disclose that they were using AI until we asked, because we thought that there is a possibility of the same because we know how business works. And at the end of the day, the third-party service providers would not be liable for the indemnity. There's no spillover, right? We don't yet have complete clarity on joint liability. So if we are the fiduciaries, it's our responsibility to make sure that the service providers have the right kind of credibility to engage with our data for processing activities. So AK, over to you on how you perceive this internally and as far as engaging with vendors is concerned.
I think the work has to start internally first, right? Before you put the blame on vendors. What's important is to understand what data you're sitting on, right? Most organizations have no way to segregate the data in different forms. When I say segregate, there's a raw data that you collect, then you enrich the data using a lot of internal kind of enrichment frameworks or whatever. And you also enrich the data by getting external party data, right? You get third party vendor data to enrich your own customer base to be able to service them, right? So in this case, what happens is when you lose contextualization of this data across the different life stages of the data, you lose your way. What data is going and feeding into your AI, no one knows. And AI is like a mirror, right? You feed in cracked data, it shows the cracked image, right? It's garbage in, garbage out. But who determines whether it is garbage? We don't even know today, right? Do we have any data quality management system? I doubt if any of the organizations in India do it, right? I mean, basic traits of a data quality are accuracy, validity, and completeness, right? So these are the basic dimensions. And for example, when I was working in Hong Kong, we did a data quality check on the date of birth of the 5 million customers that were there in the bank. Interestingly, 23% of the customer base was born on 1st of January. Is the data accurate? Complete?
We don't know.
Valid? These are the three dimensions. It is complete. 1st of January is a valid date. It is not like 30th of February, right? But is it accurate? Is it verifiable?
The possibility of bias.
Because, yeah, what happens is most of the people were old, and in those days, they didn't remember their date of birth. Easy date to remember is 1st of January, right? So do we do checks like that on the critical data that we sit on, which is used for, say, regulatory reporting, which is used for modeling, which is used for, driving business decisions? We don't, right? Once you have that contextualization, then comes, if that data is being shared with third-party vendors, you need to figure out ways to share the bare minimal data to get that service. There are a lot of privacy enhancing technologies which will anonymize, pseudonymize data, mask it, hash it, whatever, right? There are ways to ensure that what you are sharing is used only for the purpose that you want, and beyond that, they should not be able to use for any other purpose. And classic example is your Ubers, Swiggies, Olas, these cabs, they don't get your mobile number, right? There's a firewall behind which the drivers sit and they don't know your numbers, right? Unless they have an alternate way to get that through you, right? So we'll have to think that, and my take is very simple. Get your house in order. So every organization should start investing a lot in understanding their data, have a proper data governance to start with. On top of it, a part of privacy implementation will be governance, in data governance. And only when you have a proper data governance, you can do an AI governance. That's my take.
So how do you perceive undertaking DPIAs, or do you have a go-to framework, like probably privacy by design, which we all follow? Somewhere or the other, we structure how our business should map the data and deal with it from collection till deletion.
Sorry, I didn't get the full.
So what is your go-to solution? Like, do you undertake DPIs? What is the framework which
So I think
you rely on?
I think a lot of emphasis is being given on DPDPA because it has got a lot of PR value and government is also pushing it. But we forget that there are 13 other regulations in the country which talk about a data risk. No one even talks about that. They've been there, right? So if you look at data risk, right, there are 12 data risk themes, which means key data risk areas. And in each of those areas, there are key risk indicators. There are about 80 key risk indicators for data risk. And I haven't seen any organization measure more than 4 of them. Data privacy happens to be one of them. Cybersecurity is another one. There are vendor management risks in that. There are, lineage risks in that. There are quality risks in that. So all that has to be brought to the board, to their notice, saying that today you're going scot-free because you don't even acknowledge that this exists. But if tomorrow regulators come, right, what are you going to be answering?
Yeah.
Even forget about the regulators, right? We all keep saying data is the new oil, data is money, gold. I say data is plastic, it never gets destroyed. So please handle it safely, right? Destruction of data is impossible. Any digital footprint is never lost. It can be misused, right? Which is where you understanding the data, ensuring that you are using PETs to safeguard it, save it, in a proper, secure way, that is important. Right? So organizations will have to take a few steps back and work backwards, right? Because that's my take.
Thank you, AK. So Prashant, I would just cut the long question short. I want to know from your perspective, as Anand rightly said, that data never dies. Like, you cannot destroy it, but we do have purging provisions, and there is a limit to retaining and storing the data. So what is your go-to advice to a client when they come to you saying that we are engaging with a third-party vendor and there is a possibility of AI usage?
First of all, I feel all organizations should revisit their vendor agreements and check for this AI usage clause, and which is an exercise which has to be done immaterial or not considering even DPDPA. This has to be done as it is as of yesterday, So second is the indemnification clause. Since you're talking about indemnification clause, you have in your agreements is limited to the amount of money you are paying to the vendor for 1 year. So that is the amount of loss they try to take it. So what happens to the residual loss? That never gets calculated as a legal risk in various organizations. So even that residual risk, legal risk, should be decided somewhere, and that could be a board meeting point. What happens to the residual risk when it comes to cyber? Because many a times it doesn't get covered in even your cyber insurance. So what to do? So that needs to be a board point over there.
Have you seen boards being able to decipher the quantum of risk or penalties? Have you had the opportunity to witness it in this lifetime yet?
Yeah. Boards, see some serious boards with regulators sitting on their head, they always decipher this kind of risk. But
including the ripple effect, including the spillover, including the spillover.
Including the spillover. Okay. So there are financial organizations which need to do this. There's no option to it. So one is to do this, to look at the agreements and the clauses on how do you protect. And your question about the data breach point of view.
Yes.
See, for data breach, it is not only the DPDPA. So you have section 43 small b read with 66. It gives you criminal liability, for a person who breaches database. Then in our practice, we go to the high courts and we take injunction orders so data shouldn't spread or data shouldn't be given further. So even if DPDPA is not there, we were practicing data breaches, and how data breaches were handled in courts. And it has two connotations. One is of criminal way, where the breach, there is an FIR, he needs to take bail, etc. And then we go to the high courts, take injunctions so that it doesn't spread, and we file a compensation suit on him. So, and the limit is in the IT Act is there is no limit. So initially it was 5 crores. There is no limit. So it is still existing. So apart with DPDPA, these all parallel sections are going to exist, and you need to take care of this. So
Right.
even DPDPA is civil, there are criminal liabilities, and that everybody, every CISO, every DPO should not be aware. It is not like GDPR. You pay the fine and it's done. It's India, so be doubly aware.
Yes, very well. Thank you. And Sushil, for you again, I would, so the only question I want you to enlighten us with your response is the kind of challenge. As I said, it's a legacy coming from years of trust of the customers and their loyalty. So how do you perceive the whole artificial intelligence deployment in this sector? And are you deploying artificial intelligence yet? Have you done that yet?
So, even so, the regulators or no one wants to stop anyone from deploying AI use cases. Okay, and we are experimenting. Okay, but at the same time, what is important is what the other panel members said is the guardrails, the risk, how the guardrails. If there are any data breaches, okay, if happens, then you should be prepared how to handle, how to respond, right? Then the trust on the output, the user acceptance is very important, right? So rather than trying out 100 different things or use cases, experiment it, evangelize it, implement it, because that understanding and the confidence need to be built up, okay? And in that process, you will learn a lot of things, okay? Because the vendors are involved, the technology teams involved, the security teams are involved, the business, the functions are involved. So all those inputs will keep on bombarding, right? But you have to consume and see how do you take a coordinated decision and ensure that everyone is answered, their queries, whatever the risk challenges they say. So there is no, as I said, just to summarize, there is no stoppage, but at the same time, you need to be aware and you need to have, sufficient guardrails
Right.
in place. That's a paramount.
Thank
So you
you.
have to look at the risk versus benefit.
Right.
अगर हम एक use case करने वाले हैं, what is my risk and what is my outcome going to be? If my outcome is going to be just 1 or 2% when I'm going to do it, then you need to see that needs to be done. And as I said, we are more on on-prem,
Right.
right? So, but yeah, so each of the organizations, and I think have to plan and also collaborate, learnings from other implementation and companies helps.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sushil. I think the time is up, and I think we can keep discussing.
Thank you so much. We love it. What we'll do is, and we also, of course, goes without saying that we hope to see you all the next time we do this event, which is next year. Very important. It's always about adding repeat value, and you all have added tremendous value in our event. So thank you so much. What we are going to do right now is we are going to be moving to the next session. So can I please have one more chair added over here on stage, as I need 5 chairs on stage. Do we have anybody? Just check now if, just help with one chair on stage now, please. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so let it be 4 in that case. 5? 3? Okay, 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 cool. So just remove one chair. Don't put one chair. Please remove one chair. वो corner वाला जो है, if you can please kindly remove, and the table as well. We'll just keep 3 mics over here, and that's it. Kindly ये table हटा दीजिए, please. Thank you. And just maybe help put this in the middle. All right, so we move on to the next. ये थोड़ा middle में रखना है हम लोग को. It's okay, no problem. I know you guys are tired. Give them a big round of applause, please. Everybody, मेहनत कर रहे हैं सुबह से. कोई बात नहीं. Thank you so much. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, the second panel discussion, the topic that we are going to be talking about right now is cyber resilience and digital trust, building the India model. I'll repeat the topic once again. This is about cyber resilience and digital trust, building the India model. We have with us our speakers. Please welcome on stage our session chair, Dr. Biswajit Rath, who's the Group Chief Data and AI Officer, CDAO from Raymond Group. Thank you so much, sir. We're loving everything, all your sessions se leke, all your answers se leke, you're everywhere. Multitasker in the true sense of the term, sir. Thank you so much. Give him a big round of applause, please, everybody. Thank you so much. My next speaker over here, I believe we have had certain changes. Yeah. So my next speaker is Mr. Tejas Shah, who's the head IT infrastructure, info security apps head, IT infrastructure, info security apps, Prince Pipes and Fittings Limited. A big round of applause for him, please. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us over here. Shukriya. And give a big round of applause for Nikhil Jhanji as well, who's the product and growth lead at IDFI. How do we pronounce it? I'm really curious. IDFI. I'm not Shakespeare, so I'm very open in terms of asking. It's IDFI. All right. Superb. Thank you so much. Can we please quickly update the timer? It's already updated. Thank you. So I'm sorry because we are running a little late, and also because of few speakers who are missing out. So we have to reduce the time. That is the timeline. I'll request you to stick to the timeline, sir. Thank you, and over to you.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So it's an honor to moderate also, right? So let me be honest and fair. This is the first time that I'm moderating. I have given a lot of keynote speaking and also in the panel. This is the first time that I'm moderating. The way that I have seen people do moderating, I'll try my best to moderate, right? So the topic is very interesting. It talks about India embrace its digital decade and digital trust. For me, as I said, trust is always bidirectional, right? It's not a unidirectional, right? So when I say trust, trust from technology, trust from my partners. When I say partners, whether it is my customers, whether it is my vendor, whether it is my, colleagues in different departments, right? So it all about boils down to trust to cyber security, to technology, to innovation. So all these together come down to a digital future India. Taking that clue, I have my experts and colleagues who are champions in this particular subject, Mr. Nikhil and Mr. Tejas, right? Yes. So my first question, Mr. Tejas and Nikhil, would you like to introduce yourself and tell more about your organization, your journey? Then probably we will have a very cool conversation rather than having a questionnaire and session. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Absolutely pleasure and attending first time Business World session. So obviously it's a glad. So over 21 years of experience, I'm managing cybersecurity, infra, and a lot of things over a period of time. I have been managing everything related to information technology. And to add on that, I've been part of different verticals. So started with, I had been part as a banking and then education, now into manufacturing. So having said that, I think cybersecurity, or you can say information technology, is a backbone for any organization. So that's how my total experience counts, and happy to be part of this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Tejas. Thank you, BW Business World, for this opportunity. And I'll introduce myself. I'm Nikhil. I look at a particular product at IDFI. IDFI is a regulatory technology organization that has been around for about 14 years. with each inflection point in regulation, be it KYC, be it digital adoption, sort of as the country has seen over the last few years. We've been fortunate to be able to contribute meaningfully to that sort of digital transformation that we've seen the country go through. At ID5, particularly, I look at Privy, which is a full stack privacy and data governance solution, one of its kind, first to market in this country. And yeah, that's what I bring to the table today.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting, right? So let me open the lens of policies and governance. So my first question, Mr. Tejas, with this DPDP Act now live, how can India strike the right balance between privacy, innovation, and growth? What's your view on this?
So I think obviously in the last panel, I think a lot of discussion has been already done on DPDP Act. For my personal view as an organization managing cyber security and information technology, for us, if you see as an organization, it is too soon to do some maybe implementation or some practice. Obviously, we are in talks with various partners on how to be ready. So first step is how to be ready for this DPDP Act. So I think first step would be the assessment part. So where your current organization is standing is the first step towards DPDP Act, wherein assessment would be done in terms of at what level you are ready, and then what, let's say, act is in a picture. So then what all steps has to be taken? So there are various partners helping in terms of assessments, and then what is the action plan? If let's say it comes in picture, they will also give us various roadmap on what all things are you currently not doing, or there are various checklists which are available with them. So that is how I would take one step at a time, and then the innovation and then the overall next action items will come in. That's how I see as a roadmap for this DPDP Act.
Yeah, I think this is wonderful. So Nikhil, what's your view on this?
Yeah. No, I think just on the act, I think there are two dimensions to look at this, right? There is nuances of the Indian Act compared to the global laws. And plus there's nuances of India as sort of the country that we are in, right? Large sizable population, there are instances where a single device, a mobile phone gets used in a household by various people. These might be of different age groups. They might understand different languages. And therefore, as somebody innovates for this space, right, to build for the context of not just the acts reading, but also as you apply this to the lives that we live today, not just in urban India, but sort of transcend that to the most remotest of villages. I think that impact is going to be all pervasive once we're able to bridge that gap, right? And just speaking of nuances that the Indian Act really poses in terms of, I think languages is one part of it. But it does force the sort of onus of almost like the burden of proof lives with the enterprise or the fiduciary in this case. I think which is again a marked departure from how global laws have been sort of formulated. So those are two, I would say, really sort of important aspects. And lastly, I'll take a sort of a word from the previous panel to say, while there is civil liability, criminal liability, I think it forces us to really think about how would you sort of stand in front of an adjudicatory body like the Data Protection Board and really demonstrate not just compliance, but demonstrate the controls that you might have within the organization across data movement, across consents, so on and so forth. So those are three things that come to my mind in terms of the acts reading and innovation that might lead to it.
After listening both of you, impromptu, it comes to my mind that now we have a clear lens, right? Both of you have, addressed and clear the lens. Now, if I take this opportunity to move from principle practice. So if I say, how do I practice my cybersecurity? Taking that clue, my next question, Tejas, to you would be, how can we practically blend global standards like ISO 27000 with Indian own framework to build stronger cyber resilience? What's your view on this?
I think very important and very critical. for any organization point of view, ISO 27001 is one of the, you can say, baseline, or I can say framework, which obviously as we say, I'm currently implementing it for my organization. And in my previous organization also, we had implemented. So let's say if we take an example of ISO 27001, there is a lot of things which will be part for data protection and cyber security, what do you say, protection. So for example, a basic thing like there are a lot of controls has to be in place. For example, let's say as an organization, a local, or you can say basic thing is, are you doing a data encryption or disk encryption? Are you doing a data masking? Are you doing, let's say, a partner management is there? Are you doing a NDA? Are you taking a employees? I agree sign off saying that these are the list of activities wherein you will not share data. So taking these 3-4 example in this consideration, I think ISO 27001 is, I think, very important, or maybe we can say a stepping stone for this cyber awareness, or you can say for the organization. So obviously regular audits will come in picture, year 2 audits will come in picture, but to ensure that this audits, whenever they are there, we need to ensure that we have this evidences in this place. So there are more than, I think, 110 controls in place, and there is a lot of yearly reviews that has to be happened. There is log reviews that has to be in place. So as a, I think I would definitely recommend it, or you can say, I think any organization should at least start with this ISO 27001 as a basic practice to ensure that cyber security is in place, and then obviously data protection will come in hand to hand, and then there are a lot of other frameworks which are available. But this is the, I think, basic thing which we can go for it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nikhil, what's your view on this?
Sure. I think we spoke of ISO. I think even in the data protection privacy world, there are standards for PIMS. There's 27701. But I think if I were to delineate between cyber and privacy as sort of two kids, right? I think we know that privacy has been like the sotela bacha wala vyavahar has sort of that's been the case over so many years. But I think with the advent of the act, there is obviously renewed interest in people taking this seriously, and also using this as an opportunity to not just look at a certification for compliance, but to sort of almost transcend that and say, hey, can I think of this as a growth driver, as something to gain credibility, which is what the ethos of an ISO standard might actually truly begins with, right? So in the work that we've been doing, I think the certification process is sort of evolving beyond just saying, hey, can I just do these 10 things? But can I truly demonstrate sort of accountability, not just at the CISO or the DPO level, but how can it sort of percolate throughout the organization? It needs to be sort of top down. Can the right CXO really sort of drive it? But if it reaches the bottommost, and just picking a sort of a pen from what you were saying around the controls, if it reaches the last person in the organization, that's where actually I think the weakest link is. And if you're able to reach there, that's when the true value of that certification really comes through.
Yeah, I think wonderful.
I would like to add, apart from this ISO standards, I think a lot of other initiatives in cyber security has to be taken care. So I think let's say dark web monitoring, external surface management, VAPT, a lot of things as an organization, what are their priorities, that has to be taken care. So ISO will give certain standards, but then to maintain that, there are a lot of tools has to be implemented. So for that, change management has to be there. There has to be, so various different level, you can say controls will be available. And for that, you have to also ensure that different products and tools has to be purchased at the organization level to ensure that data has been saved. And as rightly said, the weakest link is obviously the employee and the maybe the partners or the third party vendors. That has to be taken care. So awareness is one thing of cyber awareness is also one thing where it has to be taken care for, let's say, in-person sessions or maybe phishing or something has to be in place, so that at the employee level, they are aware, at the management level, they are aware that how well versed is the organization in terms of awareness of cyber security.
Yeah. So At the core, we all are engineers. So my out of the way box questions, right? Because it triggers me now. After listening to policy, governance, compliance, can I ask you your technologist view, right? As a technology, because it ultimately all boils down to executions, right? So the policies, governance, compliances, all are there, right? But as a technologist, as a data guy, how do you execute all those on the field? When I say field, in your organizations. So my questions, Tejas, to you, what role do AI, blockchain, and zero trust model playing in shaping a secure, trusted digital workspace, whether it is in your organizations or your view, how it can be support for India?
I think most hyped, or you can say talked about topic is AI, agentic AI. So that is one thing which every organization is currently looking at. So either ways, if you see people are trying to get in some chatbots or some AI agent wherein auto answer has been given to the employees. Many organization has already adopted for external customers, saying that how AI is giving answers to them like just like a prompt. As a I can say as a technology, I think AI is already been implemented at various levels. So even if you see, if you take any product, a basic product like Microsoft, they also are giving Copilot as a one of the feature as an organization. So if you see any firewalls, if you see any application, any SaaS based application, they already have an inbuilt tool for AI. So I mean to say AI is already available in various forms, in various uh, application. Second phase, I would say that how do you place AI as an enterprise level? So for employees, that is one portion, and for the end users, or you can say for the customers, that is second portion. So that is AI, which I would say that it is still various solutions which are available. And then I would say chatbots, or I think SFA, that would be again a part of AI. But I think bottom line is if you are using AI, it has to be either for employees, internal, or the organization, and for the customers. That is what I can advise.
Nikhil, what's your view on this?
Yeah. No, I think technology, as somebody who's been a builder and sort of looked at building solutions for not just DPDP, but the rather larger privacy data governance sort of world, I think tools and technology will continue to evolve. And you spoke of the word PETs, and I think of this as privacy enabling technologies, because privacy enhancing would just sort of silo it into masking and anonymization. I think of this slightly more broadly. And in the way that I think privacy enabling technology can help an enterprise, I would bucket this into sort of three sort of pillars, right? Sort of marrying this to the reading of the act and the rules. There's pillar number one is just everything to do with consent, given how the act is really sort of forward on this. So understanding notices just in time, breaking them down, really sort of forcing ourselves to think, one org, one privacy policy. How do I deconstruct it into a bunch of privacy notices that are contextual, that come to the user, the employee, the vendor? And then how do I manage that life cycle, not just from a collection perspective, but beyond that, from that entire sort of life cycle? So that's pillar number one in the way that I look at this. Number two is, we did cover this in the previous session, is stuff around data. So the quality of data, the governance of data, how do you discover, classify, all of that. And again, a bunch of technology gets applied there. I would say these two sort of merge in the middle, where we speak about the demonstrability angle, which is, can I do assessments better? Can I pre-fill some stuff? And here I'm not sort of questioning AI, rather I'm using it appropriately. We've seen the advent of AI. I think over the last 2 years, we've seen something as basic as a RAG. How do you really, it has moved away from being experimental to now really being used as part of product development. So how do you ensure that the AI model that you're using gives you the same answer even after you query it multiple times, right? That's one of the risks There's risks on, as people spoke about, how do you ensure that it's not leaking PII or you're not giving it PII? So just coming back to the middle, there's assessments, there's third party, and then there is sort of incident and breach. And again, it got spoken of. So that's, I think, I would say enablement of technology in the middle. And in true AI spirit, it all comes together for a DPO role in case these worlds are speaking to each other, right? So as I uncover new data, do I need to do a DPIA or should I trigger it? If I found a new vendor I've onboarded or I'm churning away from one, should I ensure that data is deleted there so that then I can update my ROPA and ensure that the notice that goes out to the next person coming in is updated as well, right? So these three, as they sort of speak to each other, I think there is almost an analytical or like a connective tissue between these three worlds that then sort of closes the loop on the technology enablement that anybody might need to be able to sort of solve this challenge in front of them.
I think brilliant. So today, the entire day, I was listening on this data piece, right? So the entire day was lot of data, lot of data, lot of data. So Gen AI and Agentic AI, both are now brothers, right? So they are going together. So while Gen AI is generating a lot of data, Agentic AI is using, where Gen AI is a muscle, Agentic AI is working as a memory to build and context, right? So there are, when I look at this from the privacy perspective, from the compliance perspective, for me, transparency, ethics, and accountability. These are the three fundamental core belief of any pillar that we are building while you are building the data structure, right? So it has to be transparent, transparent across the organizations. Ethics, which is no question asked, right? Ethics is ethics and accountability. So somebody has to take accountability. It is not the auditor who is accountable or the person who is accountable. The person, the hierarchy, the entire hierarchy is accountable, right? So keeping that in mind, there is a very thin line between CXOs and CISO and DPO, right? They all are working for a common organizational goal. So policy, governance, everything will only happen, not only for the legal guy or the auditor. So this is a very, clutter kind of questions that coming to my mind. So I would like to, because you guys are experts, so I'd like to understand how can CISO and DPO functions work together proactively beyond compliances to strengthen the entire risk management portfolio for the organizations. So what's your view? Because Tejas and Nikhil, I heard you. What's your view how both of them, CISO and DPO, can work proactively, not reactively? What's your view on this?
So I think very tricky question. Probably proactively could be maybe we can maybe let's say we need to first of all see where are the data been residing currently. So probably we need to take a fresh look and a lot of things on what all data is currently been there, how much is there, and where is getting used. That is how DPO can look into and ensure that how data is being used. And I think probably as a CISO, we would be more interested in how the data is getting secured and not getting leaked. Maybe it is getting protected, I would say, and it is not getting properly protected by maybe ransomware or something like a malware. So more of CISO's role would be protecting data at the boundary level, and DPO's role would be managing data in terms of how the data is getting consumed, how the data is getting given to the senior management. But obviously, as a proactiveness, there are a lot of steps need to be done, and I think step by step, I think once we see that how the data has been placed at somewhere, and then accordingly need to act and protect. I think that's how I can see.
I think that's great. Yeah.
So I'll just add to this. I think there are DPOs in this room, and I think what is really prevalent now is, it has to become a sort of a boardroom agenda. It needs to be a CXO problem, because if the data breach occurs, then while the DPO may or may not lose their job, but the CXO's name is going to be plastered in the news. So I think it's not a compliance sort of a problem statement. I think there is trust, there's control, there's accountability. The other three things that I think the CXOs need to be sort of sensitized to and sort of get that buy-in from the top, and then also then enable it across the sort of board. So if a DPO or a CISO is doing that, I think then they've got the right budgets, then they've got the right teams working for them. Yeah, that's my sort of 2 cents on this.
So the previous panel, I was listening very carefully. So it's an interesting topic which came out is synthetic data and inference data, right? So these are the two new animal on the planet which is coming very heavily to all of us, right? And I'm sure it's a brilliant conversing both of you. And I'm opening this for any questions from the audience if you would like to ask any question because my experts are here. Any questions from audience? I think thank you so much. It's a wonderful speaking both Nikhil and Tejas. And this is the first time that I was moderating. I can let me.
Good debut to you as well.
Yeah. But believe me, I really enjoyed talking to both of you and much more success which will come on the way for both of you gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, to all three of you, the fantastic trio. Can I have a big round of applause for all three of them, please? And like the format says, ek तीनों का एक साथ photo जरूर बनता है, so we would take that and appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, it's now time to test my mathematics once again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 speakers for the final discussion. So we have 3. Can we please have 4 more chairs on stage, please? 5 नहीं 4 because 3 है यहाँ पे. कोई आप लोग chairs लगाने में के लिए को help की है और 3 लगा दीजिए. हाँ निकालिए. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gearing up for the third and final panel discussion of the BW Privacy World Curtain Raiser. It's going to be a fascinating conversation indeed. And the topic that we are going to be discussing right now is Global Data Governance 2030, the next frontier. And post the panel discussion, we will be having cocktails and dinner shortly. So please feel free to enjoy the networking in the best way possible. Do we have 7 chairs? We just need a few tables. Thank you, sir. Shukriya. We have how many mics? 1, 2, 3, 4. Or mics hai udhar? We can do away with the tables. We just need more mics. Do we have more mics over here? Anybody backstage, do we have more mics over here, please? Anji, thank you. Ek hi hai? Okay. So I'll request our speakers to please kindly share the mics amongst each other. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mics to be distributed and used amongst 7 people. All right, the topic has been announced, ladies and gentlemen. This is about Global Data Governance 2030, the plan for 2030, the next frontier. I'm going to be introducing our session chair, and then I'm going to be introducing our speakers, and I'll request all of them to join me together. Ladies and gentlemen, this session is going to be chaired on stage by Neeraj Singh, who's the DPO Union Bank of India. Can I please have Neeraj ji over here on stage, please? Thank you so much, sir. What a pleasure to have you. Give him the biggest round of applause. Thank you. Warm welcome. Thank you. Joining Neeraj ji for the session, we have Krishnanand N. Bhatt, who's the Data Protection Officer, IDBI Bank Limited. I hope I got the pronunciation right, sir. Gustaki maaf if I got it wrong. Thank you. Give him a big round of applause as well. I would now like to call upon stage Tanmay Agarwal, Associate Vice President, Tata AIG General Insurance Company. Give it up for Tanmay ji, please. My next speaker, Munesh Ahuja, Data Privacy Officer from Yes Bank. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us over here. Give him a biggest round of applause, please. My next speaker, thank you so much. Very, very grateful. Never easy to do back-to-back or almost consecutive sessions. Give it up for Kriti Sharma, please, everybody. Regulatory, Legal, Compliance and Ethics Head, India and Southeast Asia, RCNE, Dun & Bradstreet Information Services, India. We have Manish Bhatia, who's the co-founder, FinFactor and FinView. It is FinView or View? FinView, okay. I don't know, self-doubt shouldn't be there, but then you don't want to mess up with the pronunciations, right? So it's always better to do a double check. Thank you so much, Manish sir, for joining us over here. And I believe that's all, right? Okay, so we got extra chairs. We have imaginary speakers, I believe, or not? All sorted? All right, thank you, sir. That's the timeline. And I'll request all of you to kindly share the mic amongst each other. And over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So next decade is going to define how data flows are going to reshape our economies, innovation and trust. With the DPDP Act in place, we stand at pivotal moment. But are we ready to take advantage of this? As many of you have heard, like some of us are still thinking like what to do, whether like we should wait more or we should like once rules are finally announced, then we are going to take certain actions. So on this behalf, when we are discussing this topic, 2030, the question is whether like we can really talk about the governance, whether it's the interoperability, whether it's the cross-border data sharing or any other issues where like still a vision is required, whether we are going to take action on this or not. So Kriti, I'll start with you. So the first question itself, like as I said, like many of us are still not so prepared, but in this aspect, you know, like interoperability is something which is very critical, essence for developing our businesses and particularly with regard to DPDP Act. And when you see like GDPR and other standard privacy rules, like how you see how we are going to align in this context, in this scenario?
Sure. Thank you, Neeraj. Sorry that your picture is not here, but you are popular enough. So everybody, that's Neeraj, DPO, Union Bank of India for us. And to answer the question, I think it's not just about GDPR or DPDPA or PDPA. I think we already discussed about it. There are other regulations which have been pre-existing and which have been guiding us. There have been policies. I personally have been guided by the global standards because I have a very strong team of senior people and colleagues. And this is not a me job, this is a we job. And just to digress from what you asked, I think here we are a handful of people here today, but this is such a strong camaraderie. And if at all we can help each other build this, probably under this brand or any other brand, just to ask the right question, because as I said, we are the first set of DPOs in India. So we are the pioneers and torch bearers of what we are doing, how we are perceiving things, and there are footprints which we are building. So coming back to the point, it's very important that you also see the global footprints and the standards. I have personally very closely worked with data ingestion and cross-border data transfer. So it's very important that you are aware about not just the DPDPA or the local laws, but also about the laws and standards and processes of the other country and their camaraderie with our country. That is also very important because there are data adequacy measures, privacy shields, which most of the times I think EU, US have invalidated it, but I think EU, Japan has a privacy shield, which they honor, and it makes things much more easier because there is a channel which opens. So there is a lot of homework. And I always say this because I'm very pro homework. I make sure that I know my thing when I am asked the question because I have witnessed ED raids. And so interoperability is something which we cannot deny because we are all about data monetization, and that will not stop. Just to give an example, Apple sells privacy as an element or a strong feature of its product. What an irony. So we are paying for it and we are also a product. So that's how I see it. I will talk more about it as we speak. Thank you.
Great. So build on that, Mr. Bhatt, I would like to know, like, we are talking about also this cross-border data transfer, as even Kriti has spoken. How you see, like, is a compliance minefield for us, or we will be able to take advantage of, Indian companies will be able to take advantage of this?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Business World for having this event and collaboration of minds coming and sitting together and articulating things. And coming to the question of today, cross-border transfer, we are actually living in a world where cross-border is happening every day of our life. Fortunately, or you could call it unfortunately, it is not visible to the bare eyes. That's all. So we are not aware. And as they say, when you're not aware, it is bliss. Just to illustrate an example, most of you will be using ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other AI tools. Most of these tools, when it comes to a B2C approach, make it very clear in their privacy policy that whatever information you're ingesting into us, we would be taking it as a community edition and building it onto our large language models. Now, most of these data that gets ingested into these platforms would be residing on servers which are anywhere in the world. So already cross-border transfer is happening. So the obvious understanding of a cross-border transfer, the way data localization laws apply, where they say that you need to keep it in servers in India, what technically is not understood is that in an interconnected world, your data bytes move across the globe at times just to come back to your neighbor who's sitting beside you. That's how your emails travel. And no service provider is able to give you that guarantee that I'll ensure that your data does not leave the shores of your country. Having said that, because in the age of technology, it is very difficult to determine how the bit and bytes move along the data highway. And it's going to be a minefield in the future also. So most of the FTAs that we look at would start having compatibility clauses for data moving from one country to other. There needs to be a cross-border model framework of governance. Probably countries would become more rational. But as they say, data is the new oil. We all have seen wars over oil in the past. Now we'll see wars over personalization of data. And the kind of value that holding that data helps organizations to grow. NVIDIA recently became a $5 trillion company, and Apple became a $4 trillion company. All of these organizations, if you look at their core, is helping personalize your experiences by ingesting a lot of personal information. Each individual is profiled, personalized across the globe to give you an user experience, which is nothing but cross-border happening, but people not being aware. And it's a nightmare. And it's going to be a nightmare moving forward as countries start enforcing more rules for data sovereignty. And there would be trade agreements which will allow data to traverse. I think that is my 2 bits into this entire thing.
Yeah, thank you so much. And in fact, that brings me to the next question. Data is new oil, and now this we're talking about data monetization. Now it's a new gold rush. Now to on it, how we can bring ethical practice? Can we really monetize it without breaking any ethics? So I need your perspective on this.
Yeah, sure. I would like to first echo, Krishna's thoughts on thanking the business world, for having us here and creating this community. And I look forward to growing this community with all the common interests together, as DPOs and data security experts. To your very specific question, every time I talk to my peers and also within my organization, there is always this fear about अब DPDP आ रहा है और अभी हम लोग को बहुत काम बढ़ेगा हमारा, and there will be a lot of compliance work that needs to be done. And I always go back and tell them, this can be really the gold mine for you. That's what your question is. And the way it is that if a customer comes in and he or she, as in a bank, does not want any equity product or any insurance product, then let's not waste our time in selling that particular thing to that particular customer. Spend your energy in selling the right products, which could be loan, which could be property, or whatever the customer would want. And that's where it becomes a differentiator. You are then now focusing your energy on the right thing for the customer. And more importantly, the customer also likes it because he or she then understands that this is hyper personal and I can only, I want a particular thing, and therefore the bank is giving me that, that particular service. So in that way, this can be a gold mine. It's not a deterrent. I think it's a business enabler for all of us. We have to think correctly and use it correctly. I think that's what my submission, to the community would be.
Thank you. And one of the thing which is going to be enabler is data quality. So Tanmay, do you see any conflict? So a lot of KPIs around, and then we are talking about data quality. How can you handle this situation, this conflict?
So first of all, I like to thank Business World for having me here. And what I believe about data quality, data governance, data privacy, it looks like the word governing that we are after some. So how business functions have been working, and it looks like there is some command over them. But once we try to facilitate it in a way that it is for the betterment and it is for the help, it gives a better notion. And that's the key aspect of people ownership in the framework of data governance. There can be various ways to control it. For example, I'll just share an example of Tata Sons. We have a Tata Business Excellence Group who runs a data target and operating model. And that's an assessment which every company goes through. And it becomes a very competitive kind of a scenario where everyone is running down for data governance. But then the business functions are still into the position that this is not up to the mark for us. We are still running for our sales numbers. I'll share a small example. IRDAI made KYC mandatory, and there was a huge cost on the ops side for it. We were not storing the KYCs properly. And if you look at the data quality of KYC, it was around 17%. And we're burning money on the existing customer coming again for renewals, coming and buying new products. And we have a great policy density and product density at our end. We established the data quality framework. And I believe earlier in panel one, they mentioned about the completeness, validations, and they are very brief concepts individually to be set up. And we saw great benefits. And when we save money in crores, even the top management who becomes a part of the Data Governance Council motivates everyone to implement it. And then there are various functions. So I also look after Customer 360. So the key aspects to dedupe your customer and then run campaigns over it needs data at the end. And for all kind of customer intelligence and digital intelligence to be built, data quality becomes a key aspect. So once the business function started realizing it and the key role of data stewardship came into act, it really worked well for us. And we gained a lot of benefits at both ends just by improving our data qualities at various aspects. So that's all.
Thank you. Manish, with the AI systems increasingly trained on the global data, how do we ensure fairness, accountability in these algorithms? And particularly as an account aggregator, what is your take on it?
Yeah, firstly, thanks, for inviting me here, inviting all of us. So I think if you look at it, we are talking about DPDP now, but the AA framework is already there for financial data. I'm sure some of you may already be knowing it. That went live in 2021. And, 4 years now, there are already 300 million consents that are flowing through the ecosystem that have been actually processed so far. So the use of data is already happening. Of course, this is limited to financial data and limited to institutions who are regulated under the financial sector regulators. So in terms of how data is used, I think the whole construct of the A framework is built on the consent artifact itself, which is mainly aligned to the organ principles, as they call it. It's open, the framework is open, the consent can be revoked. It's granular because every consent is for a certain purpose. It's auditable, there is a whole trail of who shared what data and for what purpose. Of course, there's notifications. And then, the main thing is the security is already built into it. Because end-to-end the data is encrypted. It's, built on top of the public key infrastructure. So actually, if you go to see that, we are already using, flavor of DPDP is already happening in our country. And, obviously, this is one of, I would say in India, it's one of the, leading frameworks. There are other frameworks globally, which is like GDPR or the PSD2 in the EU or the UK open banking, now even Singapore has it. Middle East has it, but I think India is kind of leading in that front. We've already laid down the framework. I think DPDP will then extend it to probably other sectors and make it further open. So that's how. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Bhatt, I'll just to add on this, how organizations are shifting from point solutions, that is cataloging policies, to the fully integrated governance across analytics, cyber, compliance, and business lines. Would you like to throw some light on this? Just
okay. So it's a very difficult question. So we are speaking about organizations collaborating in unison. So there's a collaboration between cyber, the data analytics team, the AI governance, AI team analytics, and the data protection. So each one of them has an individual role to play in the overall governance framework with a common agenda of risk management. So end of the day, we all are working towards the same thing: minimize risk, minimize exposures. And moving forward as things mature and evolve, right now, each of these teams work in silos. So you have the chief data officer who would be working with the data of the organization, responsible for data quality, integrity, accuracy, completeness, maybe dedupe also. And then you have the analytics who is trying to derive that information, relying on the chief data officer to provide reports in a timely manner to the users in the manner that they require it, which is intelligible and digestible. Then you have the CISO or the cyber team, which ensures that this information is protected at rest in transit, and there are guardrails that ensure that things don't go haywire. To add to this, you have the data protection officer who will have to further ensure that whatever information is being collated is being cataloged, classified, personal, non-personal, classified accurately, made available, maybe masked, encrypted, not shareable. So there are so many activities that each one of these independent functions are currently doing. As things evolve and mature, there has to be an interoperability in each of these functions where we are able to build a standardized platform. As the information gets ingested into the organization, the data protection expectations in terms of consents, in terms of handling of personal data, flows to the chief data officer. So he already knows what is labeled, cataloged, and he's in a position to share it across while the cyber team ensures that this platform is protected and information is available on need to know rather than available to everybody. I think this integration will evolve over a period of time. And right now, there is no single platform or solution that helps you derive value across the entire chain of events as the data enters your organization. And each one works in a siloed. And that's the future that we can anticipate in 2030, where this global data governance, as we monetize our data, will need to have more interoperability. You need to have a data governance framework so the information can be shared across industry peers, so that the industry as a whole can also monetize and benefit from this compatibility and collaboration.
So Tanmay, you heard Mr. Bhatt about all these aspects. So what level of governance maturity is required for a company to safely participate in a cross-industry data sharing consortium in 2030? So what is your take?
So let's divide it into 3 levels. One level is an ad hoc kind of a thing where we still use SFTPs and share informations, and it's less regulated. Coming to the next level, we start integrated APIs and then taking consents of the customer at the same time. Why not move to the 3rd level, aiming towards 2030, where we have AI in place and where the customer consents are taken way before when the data was collected at the point. And definitely when DPDP coming, there will be various other aspects to be covered around the consent. But I believe when ever such cross-industry data sharing is there, we should have an AI-based solutioning designed around it so that this enhances the customer experience for everyone. Just one of an example is a customer comes to your website. Why do they have to spend so much of time filling up any form? That's again a cross-industry data sharing. Being in insurance, we require data from other insurance partners as well as various other partners. DNB is one of our partners. No, they help us in dedupe of our corporate clients. So I believe it should be more advanced and aiming towards the goal that it should be on an instant basis and microseconds.
Manish, so in this context, Monish, I just asking to Manish. So, because, like, what is going to be your version of truth? Well, he's talking about IoT edge. So in this fabric and how you like collaborate with your local and regional adaptations, how you're going to align your truth?
Yeah, so I think from a global governance perspective, of course, I think the way it's going is that everyone is having their own local laws, which is obviously the case. Everyone is looking at data localization. Maybe, there will be kind of global standards, like already ISO 27001 standard is there, which is like a now followed, all, all institutions have started following that. They probably would be global standard, extending beyond the 27001. There are already a few standards which are there, 27701, I think someone mentioned earlier. I think obviously cross, in terms of data moving from, one country to another, obviously it has to go over certain policies. So I think, a techno-legal, a techno-policy kind of framework, probably should be there in terms of how data can move from one country to another. And of course, with these kind of securities places, security frameworks, that should probably strengthen the whole ecosystem.
Manish, so whether you observe a trust premium from customers when you embed privacy by design into these products, if yes, how you measure your return on investment?
Yeah, first of all, the answer is a big yes. I mean, there is a lot of benefits with privacy by design. Different organizations will have different connotations. From a financial group, from a bank perspective, the way I see it, is that, the customer starts trusting more, and therefore the KPI would be to see that, the same customer is coming back again and again because the trust is built. The other way to see it from a customer experience perspective is to see the Net Promoter Score. That could be another metrics that we can measure. And from an overall business, you look at the entire life cycle value of the customer. I mean, it's not just that he or she is just doing transactional business. It's a overall life cycle that gets managed better. And I always say this, even within my organization, it's a competitive advantage. It's not another compliance burden that we have. It's gonna be a strategic differentiation. Thankfully, with the 250 CR fine, I think everyone's eyes are now wide open, and they're taking it seriously. That's helpful. But more importantly, I think it's important to see it as that differentiator. That's important. And different organizations will have different KPIs for it. But from a banking perspective, those are the few that I mentioned, which will help the bank to take it forward.
Yeah, thank you, Manish. And Kriti, India has the scale, tech talent, and now this privacy law. Can we become a trusted data hub by 2030? Whether like it's only about our neighboring countries, we can become a global hub by 2030?
See, I think we can become anything we want, but the thing, see, I come from a legal compliance background. The only point is, if you're doing it, do it right. And also, I have seen a lot of content on media saying that India does not innovate. India just repeats things. They just believe that they can, twist the policy, and then they can. So, although it's a topic for another panel, but I do feel definitely India has the potential. We have the right kind of skilled labor. We have the manpower. There is, the whole idea of brain drain has been shut down thanks to Mr. Trump. So we very much have the right kind of skilled people here. Is just the matter of opportunity, and it has to be clubbed in consonance with the right kind of sandboxing. Very important. See, we should not be the guinea pigs. And when I say we, it's the citizens. And that's the whole idea about DPDP, right? It's about trust. It's about protecting the customers, protecting the users. It's about consent. It's also that there are exemptions to it, but with the right vision, for the right vision, for the right intent. And that is why IT Act has been somewhere redone in light of data protection. So absolutely, we can be what we want to. And India is a very strong nation, emotionally and financially as well, if we ensure that we are looking at the right purpose. So the best, and my favorite word when I draft a policy, is specific purpose, right? We have to stick to the same agenda as we move forward as Indians.
Okay, so before we move to rapid fire round, I'll just like to ask question to audience. So by 2030, which of your data practices will you think will still be relevant and which will become obsolete? So would you like to share, any of the audience members? Anand?
Yeah, I'll go this. Okay. Can you just elaborate a bit more on the question, please?
Shall I repeat?
Yeah, just elaborate a bit more on the question so that I can.
So no, we are talking about 2030, right? So do you think like many of our current governance practices, like whether it's data governance or practices on many of things we have still not started, right? People are still buying out time.
Right.
But some of these practices maybe like become obsolete, even from the global perspective.
Right.
And some of which you think like will be still relevant after 5 years.
So I think this is a very bold statement that I'm going to make now, right? We all talk about data sovereignty, but globalization is about breaking down the borders. So you can't say that I will globalize and still have sovereignty. There has to be a balance between the both. And what I believe would be the way forward is something called data transfer compliance schedules, which will come in place, where the data will move from one country to another country, like people would, and you will have a visa for the data. So there is something called a data visa. The regulatory compliance and the legal departments of the sending jurisdiction with the receiver jurisdiction will come into a legal contract, why it is being sent. And for that particular service, it'll be used, right? So people will start looking at data as an asset. Today, it is just an English statement, right? But I think in future, there'll be a lot more respect to data, not just from an enterprise perspective, but individuals will also start appreciating and valuing the data that they share left, right, and center today, right? As data principles, we don't realize what data we give, right? What you put on the social media can be scraped because it's available. You don't need to consent what is already available on the public platforms, right? So people will start critically evaluating that. And that's where I think awareness, right? I mean, government, in couple of sessions that I attended with METI, they are spending to the tune of a couple of hundreds of crores to educate the common public on the importance of their personal data not being publicized, because analysis very clearly says that a lot of crimes lead to some data being put on the social media, right? Cyber crimes and things like that. So I think that's my take on it, right? The whole governance will not be a second line of defense activity, but will be a necessary first line of defense activity, which will be a part of business, not a compliance exercise, because that's going to be your key differentiator, right? And privacy or data will be provided as a service. Swiss Bank is a classic example, right? They don't divulge anything. So once you put your money in Swiss Bank, except you, nobody else will know. That's the single most factor on which that thrives, right? So that's my small take.
So I have a different perspective to this, right? So when I look at from business to take kind of relation, so chief sales officer will definitely going to fight with DPO, right? Or chief data officer, CDO, in 2022, 30, 110%. The reason being, your standard model of SPANCO, which we call as suspect, prospect, agreement, close, and order, right? It's a well-defined model for age old, right? Without suspect, prospect cannot happen, right? That is what human being is all about, right? That's what the business model is all about. Everybody is not, Mercedes or BMW. Even still, they look for suspecting. So that's a challenge which I feel will still persist. There will be a definitely battle, because the day you said, hey, I will not give you the data for telecalling, especially telecalling. The way you are doing telecalling, that might change, right? Many organization has taken that leap. But whether that fight will be there, 110% that fight will be there. There will be a revenue discussion on the discussion board of the CXOs, that do I listen to DPO or do I listen to CSO, right? So that's a balance that we need to really think about.
Thank you so much. Any other view? Okay. So we'll have one final round for this. So one word that's going to define future of data governance in 2030. One.
Okay. So one word that defines data governance in 2030. So right now, I could say that we usually have organizations which say we have governance practices. Probably in the future, organizations would like to proclaim that we are a governed organization. That's it. So they're not going to say that we are an organization that has governance practices. The entire paradigm will shift to saying we are a governed organization. And it's understood that everything else is in order.
One word that comes to my mind is dashboarding.
Accountability.
Cool. Then
Knowledge champions. We need them.
I would say data trust core.
Good. And one approach to increase data knowledge in our organization. What could be? Yeah, I can start from that side. Manish.
Sorry, we didn't hear.
Can you repeat it, Neeraj?
One approach to increase data knowledge in an organization. Yeah, but finishing.
More awareness, more awareness sessions.
I believe DPOs and CDOs becoming champions and not the complainers.
Alignment.
Okay. Over the last 2 months, since the time I've been working with the bank, it's been education, education, education. I think that's what it'll be.
I think awareness should start from the top and driven down.
So I think it's finally time to close. So what we have heard so far, it's not about only compliance. So of course, this data privacy is going to be reason for our competitive advantage, and how like any organization is going to use it, whether we are going to compete on trust. And in fact, the opening remark, so it was mentioned like trust is currency. So business must make consent. So massive thanks to our panelists and all of you, our esteemed audience. Thank you so much. Thank you for this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for making the BW Privacy World Curtain Raiser so very special for all of us. I request all of you to please kindly pose over here for a nice photograph. Thank you so much to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, ये final session था. आप लोग जितना जोर से हो सके ताली बजा सकते हो, because we are concluding the event with this session. This was all about the curtain raiser of the BW Privacy World. Thank you so much. Spoke about AI, we spoke about data, we spoke about cybersecurity, and as a community, it's only gaining strength and moving forward in the right direction. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long day, and you all have been a fantastic audience throughout. Like I mentioned, a lot of you over here are here since morning. A lot of you have joined in the afternoon. A lot of you have joined in the evening as well. But most importantly, the compassion, passion, and the love and admiration that you have shown throughout is truly, truly commendable. Thank you so much. That's a wrap. This is your host, Shubhajit, signing off. I'll see you all the next year. Thank you. God bless.
We're listening to Cafe de Anatolia Music.